Hey folks, Coach Ryan Robillard here. I'm here today with our Forceboard Pro, and we're going to go through a breakdown of one of the drills of part of our Forceboard Pro lateral shift protocol. We're excited for the launch of Forceboard Pro, new product, because we believe that a misunderstood opportunity for a lot of golfers is we can build a ton of speed from the ground up. And that's why we have a ton of protocols around a couple different compartments about speed using the Forceboard, and we're going to break down one of these drills for you here today. One of the drills in our lateral shift protocol is called step back drills. Now, if you've been training with SuperSpeed before, you will have heard of this drill before, but we're going to go through it again as part of our lateral shift protocol. This one, we don't use the board yet. The first thing we're trying to do is we're trying to get a clear understanding of how we want the trail foot to move, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to load pressure into that trail foot before we get you standing on the Forceboard. So the step back drill is a pretty straightforward drill where what we're going to do is we're going to start with our feet together and the club out in front of us. We call this counter rotated, so it's a little bit out in front of us. And then as we make a backswing, we're going to make a step back. It's easy in concept, but there's a couple of pitfalls I want to make sure that you don't do so that we can execute this drill properly. The first thing that's important to note is how big of a step that we make. So a real easy thing that we can do is if I go ahead and sit up with my normal stance as if I'm going to hit a driver, I keep note of where that trail foot is, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a ball here just as a little bit of an indicator of where my foot is, because what I want to make sure I don't do is I do not want to step too far or too short. We'll have some players where they'll really overextend their step or they've overdone it, and then we have some people that don't make a step that is big enough. So I've got this golf ball here as an indicator of where my stance is, and then I can set up my feet together and in counter rotation. The next thing we want to make sure we do properly is when to start the step. When we talk about lateral force in the backswing, the lateral force is the first force that actually peaks. And when that force peaks for most players is as we make our backswing, that lateral force we want to peak when the club is parallel with the ground in the backswing, or roughly in that area. So in scope of the golf swing, that happens very quickly, which is, keep in mind, we don't have a lot of time to do it. So the timing of when we apply this force and for this drill, the step we make is super important. So if I sit up here with some counter rotation, as soon as I start to move that club, I'm already starting to make my step because I want to make sure that my force and my pressure is getting into my trail foot very early in the backswing. So that's an overview. Let's make sure that our stance width is organized. I've got a marker here, and let's make sure that as soon as that club starts to move, we're making our step and we're establishing pressure in our trail foot. So here's what it'll look like here. So go ahead and set up. I have my marker. I'll bring my trail foot close, a little bit of counter rotation. As soon as I start that club back, I'm going to make my step. Okay, so that's what it'll look like at full speed. I'll do it for you again. Again, we go ahead and sit up here, bring my foot forward with counter rotation. Okay, I'll do one more for you. Okay, so those were the 3 swings that you'll make with your SuperSpeed club. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip angles, and we're going to go through this with a driver. All right, so now let's hit some shots with step back. I might have said driver before. You don't have to with your driver. If you want to hit with an iron, that's perfectly fine. But the thing that we're going to remember, I'm going to take my normal stance. I'm going to bring that foot together. As soon as I make that backswing, I'm still going to start with counter rotation. I'm going to take my step back and go through and hit the shot. Is it a little bit tricky at the start? It might be, but it's still something that I think is important for us to work through. So let's go ahead and hit a few shots here. So I get set up, foot together, counter rotation. Okay, pretty good swing there. Based on the ball speed, I might do this with my full swing all the time. Okay, let's go ahead and hit another one here. Take my normal stance, bring my feet together, counter rotation. Okay, the first couple might feel a little wobbly, like they do even for me as well as someone who's done this a lot. But the thing that I'm thinking is as soon as that club goes back, I'm really trying to establish that trail leg with the pressure in the correct spot to hit this golf shot. I'm going to hit one more here. Feet together, club out in front with some counter rotation. Pretty good strike there. So that was hit with it hitting golf balls. Now let's summarize this video for you. All right, so just a quick summary of how we're going to do that step back. We're going to make sure that we control the width of our step, and we're going to make sure that we are getting that step to start as soon as that club starts to move from a counter rotation position. If we do both of those, we are starting to establish how we get pressure into that lead leg or into that trail leg, and when we get that pressure into that trail leg. So this was our step back video. This was video 1 of our lateral shift protocol. It might seem easy in concept, but it's so important to get this part right, because once we start to introduce the board in our drills, which is the next video, it's going to matter that we know how to do this properly. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you have any questions, please post them down below. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you next time for our next video. We're excited about the Force Board Pro, and we believe it's going to help you build more speed from the ground up. Have a great day.